advance to be deployed if and when needed. Also, rest assured, our customers, all of you, will be well served. We have stood up a world-class customer service operation, and starting next Tuesday, we will answer your calls. We will receive your visits at customer service centers around Puerto Rico, and we will communicate with you and inform you through a variety of digital channels, including the new LUMA service that's accessible through lumapr.com and the LUMA mobile app. Customers are truly at the center of what we do here in LUMA, and we look forward to working and servicing all of them. We are excited and we are very eager to get started. At LUMA, we say Puerto Rico will shine even brighter with the modern, resilient, reliable electric system that LUMA will bring forth, and I am certain that that will be the case. And so with those brief remarks, I'll open it up for questions.
Eva?
Yes, thank you very much, sir. You say you're ready, but the truth is that there are certain, and I have several questions, and I hope you bear with me. There are several proceedings still pending at the energy regulator, the Energy Bureau, that have yet to be completed. So my question is, how do you expect, exactly is it that you're going to operate, given the fact that you still have your system operating procedures have not yet been approved, nor your terms of service? So I'm just wondering, how is it that you're going to be operating in the meantime while those processes are still going on? And also at Friday's meeting at the board, I think I heard you said that you were going to attend the June meeting of the board, but you were not sure whether you will be attending other meetings of PREPA's board. So I would like to know what is the relationship going to be with the generation aspect of the business in terms of PREPA's board, because if you're going to send someone to the meetings, or just not going to go to the meetings. And so those are my questions.
Great, thank you. Yes, indeed, the commissioners at the PREB are still adjudicating a number of our submissions. We do expect that, or anticipate, pardon me, that we will receive results of their adjudication prior to Tuesday. However, if that's not able, in some elements, there are other provisions under the contract with which we would move forward in an intervening period. But as I say, I am very optimistic that they will complete their work across this weekend. They too are working this weekend, I'm certain. Your second question is the relationship with PREPA's generation and the board. I guess the relationship with the board and the relationship with public board meetings, I think is maybe where you were going. So we're going to have a very, very close relationship with PREPA in the following weeks and months. PREPA remains the generation operator, and so that relationship is very, very important. We are providing a number of shared services to the PREPA organization over the next several months, and so we will be based in the San Terce offices, amongst other offices around Puerto Rico. But suffice it to say that we're sharing office buildings at San Terce to ensure that we are staying very close and very connected. There's many areas of communication and interaction and very close business relationships between PREPA and LUMA. In terms of the board meetings themselves, I can't speak for the board and I can't speak for PREPA. However, I would imagine that the content of those board meetings does adjust over time as they begin to adjust their role for their new organization. And what I offered on Friday is I will absolutely attend the next public board meeting, as I have the last 11 public board meetings. And then I think, between ourselves and the PREPA board, we just need to understand how those public board meetings will move into the future. So,
are you saying that? I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just a little bit concerned about the level of transparency that it's going to be available after you take over, and I would like to know if you in your website, whether LUMA is going to be able to be putting more information in terms of how much money, what projects are you going to be doing, information on your contracts and things like that, because I got the impression, and maybe I'm wrong, but I got the impression that the level of transparency it's maybe diminished. So I want you to let us know if what can we expect from LUMA in terms of transparency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you've asked this question several times over the last few months, Ava. So appreciate your interest. And my answer, I think, has been consistent, and it will be consistent today, is we are committed to in fact being more transparent in meaningful ways to the transformation of the system. For us, transparency is not just about a bunch of disconnected information. It's about actually providing meaningful information on just what you said, on projects that are underway, on investments that are being made in various communities, on the state of those projects, on the state of our submissions. And so, absolutely, our website will grow dramatically in the next weeks and months as we communicate elements like that. We are also very committed to communicating our performance metrics, and we've spoken about that before. The performance metrics are in with the PREP today, but we will be providing routine updates, public updates as we move forward on all of those performance metrics, because it's very important that our customers understand how we're all doing as against those performance metrics. So, I can assure you and all others that that we intend to be fully transparent. We intend to be transparent in a way that helps customers and helps consumers understand the improvements that LUMA is making.
Joan Isabel.
Good morning. I believe Danica had a question, raised her hand before me. I don't mind, I can answer the question, but...
Go ahead, Danica, and then we'll come back to Joanny. Thank you. Danica, can you hear? You're muted. You ready to make your question? Okay, then Joanny, your turn.
Okay, thank you. Good morning to all. A couple of questions. The first has to do with customers. Currently, some customers are writing us saying, what will happen if I have an automated payment with PREPA? If I should stop that direct deposit on to pay me my bill or not? Sorry, it's just that after the questions we published today, we're getting that kind of questions from people.
I think it curious.
It does.
Yeah. No, the same payment account details exist, so there's no need to stop that. It can continue.
Okay. Another question is regarding renewables and people buying renewable solar panels and so on, and they're willing to connect to the grid. They were in the works probably with PREPA, and they're concerned what will happen now because they are basically either installing them or waiting for PREPA to be allowed to be connected to the grid. What will happen with those renewable or prosumers, as we call them in Spanish?
Yeah, I think it translates in English as well. And For those that have interconnections that are in progress, we're going to carry on. And for those that have been waiting in a very, very long and extended queue for interconnection details, we are bringing in additional resources so that we're more able to process those interconnections and work through that backlog. It's very important to us that that we get through that backlog and support, as you say, the prosumers that you know, that would like to participate with their own renewable energy.
I do have a question regarding the emergency plans that you, and your submissions with PREP. When I was reading those documents, it caught my attention. I read it at the beginning, but I kind of forgot. In terms of the very low number of customers that would be needed to be out of power in order for that event to be considered an emergency event, and that will trigger the use of the reserve account in case of an outage. And I wonder, at this very moment, PREPA has probably 40,000 people out of power as we speak. I wonder how would that be played going forward on June 1st. If we have that 20,500 customers as the milestone, what will happen? And what will happen with those that currently probably won't have service tomorrow? How do you intend to manage that?
I mean, the reserve account is simply a method to ensure there's sufficient funding available to be able to respond to customer outages and to emergencies. So you know, it's a relatively complex set of triggers to allow sufficient funding. That was really the basis for those reserve accounts. We need to make sure we have enough cash flow in the business to respond to large events, and that's how those accounts were established. So whether or not we tap into those accounts in the coming days and weeks I think it's frankly not that material, because those accounts get topped up as well as the other service accounts have to get topped up from revenues. So it's a bit of I would call it a bit of a mechanical issue in the way the accounting is done.
I do understand that. However, my question has to do with the number of customers that would be needed to be out of power, without power, because as I said, if we have 40,000 people or clients without power today, then it's kind of a big number. If you say in your submission that regular outages would be covered through your budget, but then you have this tremendous amount of customers without power, and if you need to resort to that account, I mean, I'm just kind of a little bit concerned that you will have basically enough cash to respond in a very short period of time. I mean, $30 million sounds a lot to many, but in the case of a grid and managing this kind of infrastructure, that's pennies on the bucket. So that's the reason I'm trying to understand.
Maybe I'm not following your question, but of course those amounts are in addition to the other servicing accounts, right?
Okay. And the other question has to do with people that...
Maybe the other way for me to answer your question is we have access to the other servicing accounts to run the day-to-day business, and we would of course be using those funds as well to respond to customer outages.
Okay, and in the case of customers that currently don't have power, that they are pretty angry with PREP at this very moment, how will you handle this going forward on June 1st? what will happen?
Yeah, I think it's very unfortunate, frankly, that there are a significant number of customers that have had outages, especially across the last 2 weeks, as we've seen manifestations and other, I would suggest, illegal and inappropriate behavior by parties that want to discredit and attempt to defer or stop the transformation. I've said it time and time again, and I'll continue to say it, is we need to put customers first in this conversation, and for some reason, a relatively small number of people take it upon themselves to break the law and take illegal action and really put customers last. And so we've been working closely with PREPA in the last few days to try and make sure those outages can be responded to as best as possible. And I can assure you, beginning June the 1st, that's exactly where we start. Is we don't wish to go into June the 1st with a large backlog of outages, but it's going to be what it's going to be, and we're going to put all of our resources to very quickly address those outages and get service levels back to where they should be.
In fact, they blame LUMA. What they say is that these customers couldn't be served properly precisely because PREPA was basically doing all the transfers of equipment, vehicles, and so on. Is that right or not?
No, it's a lie. It's factually not true. They should be blaming themselves, and they should be taking responsibility and accountability for their own actions.
I will now pose Danica's question. Thank you.
If I may, can I just ask another question?
Sure.
Precisely on that matter, what kind of plans or strategies LUMA has undertaken to strengthen the security at some of the probably most important assets within the grid and within the assets you'll be managing going forward? Can you talk a little bit about those security or safety plans?
Yeah, I think that's a very important discussion point. Is we do take this very seriously. We take the safety of our employees very seriously. We take the safety of our customers very seriously, and we take the protection of critical infrastructure, which is what the electricity system is, which is the property of the government and the property of the people of Puerto Rico, very seriously. And we're going to work. We have been working, building robust plans, and we've been working with all levels of the Puerto Rican government, Puerto Rico law enforcement, federal law enforcement, to have a robust plan for June the 1st. I would encourage, everybody to, again, understand that, it's simply not right to have people breaking the law, to have vandalism, to have sabotage. Our future employees have been facing significant inappropriate behavior in the last months, but it certainly has increased in the last few weeks, and we're not going to accept it or tolerate it, and I would suggest no one should. And if anybody witnesses vandalism or other acts on electrical infrastructure across Puerto Rico, I would strongly urge them to call 911 and report it to the appropriate authorities.
Danica, I will pose your question now. It says LUMA is prepared for a Category 2 hurricane. Why are preparations not in place for a stronger hurricane given the history of Maria and the forecast of increasingly severe hurricanes?
So I think, Danica, I think that was pulled out of our regulatory submissions. And yes, we built our base plans around that. Including materials on island, including resources. There are, of course, significant other aspects of hurricane preparedness that we've worked through. when that would require bringing in additional assistance from either others in the Caribbean or others in the mainland U.S., additional materials, working with FEMA and all of our other member utilities in the United States. So it's not that we have no plans or no ability. If it's a larger storm than that, we absolutely do, but that's our base planning assumption.
Denise Perez.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everybody. Mr. Stemby, you say you are ready, and I would like to know in terms of personnel, will LUMA be ready? How far along are you with the recruitment process? And if you are in a way concerned for their safety, there have been some reports, on people recruited by LUMA.
Yeah. So I would say for me, this is one of the more exciting topics to discuss. I was out yesterday, and I'll go again after the session today. But I spent some time with new recruits, new employees, new LUMA employees, pardon me, that are joining. We've been holding onboarding and orientation sessions across Puerto Rico, and by the end of tonight, we will have run through more than 1,600 people through these sessions, and it is absolutely it is the best part of my day when I get a chance to spend a moment in these sessions. Our new employees are excited and enthusiastic, and the room is lit up with people who can't wait to get started and can't wait to make a difference. And of course, a large number of them are prep employees, but a large number of them are not prep employees as well. So in terms of the numbers, I think the numbers kind of speak for themselves. So these are numbers as of last night, and they, like I mentioned before, they continue to increase each and every day. But we've had approaching 28,000 applicants that have put in almost 63,000 applications. We've interviewed more than 5,500 people. We have 2,200 people that have fully accepted roles and will start. And out of that, more than 1,200 of them are from PREPA. So we're in good shape. We're in very good shape to start on June the 1st, and we will continue to recruit, of course, in the months of June and July, and frankly through the rest of the year. Our organization is going to continue to be a growing organization, and specifically as we start to access the FEMA funding and we begin some of the large-scale investments, that will bring more and more opportunities for employment inside of LUMA. So, yes, long story short, we're ready and we're very excited to get started.
So the question about are you concerned for their safety?
Sorry. I got carried away with the first question. Look, the safety of our people and the safety of customers, but safety of our people is very, very important to us. And so, yes, we've put in place, as I mentioned earlier, we put in place security provisions. We have some very strong and robust plans for the next week and two. We've been working, as I mentioned, with all levels of law enforcement, and and what can I tell you? We also have a job to do, and it's very important that we find a way to get on with our job, which is why we're here, and address the outages that I was asked about earlier, and begin to roll out, much improved customer service. So, working with the associated agencies, and through our security plans, we will put our safety first, but we will not be deterred from a handful of thugs that want to attempt to put customers last.
Okay, so I understand that then you are in constant communication with the Puerto Rico police?
Indeed we are, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Jim?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much for this opportunity. The question, within those 2,800 or 2,200 people that have taken jobs, how many of them are linemen? And also, I just wanted to have a better sense of the current power outages that we're seeing. I mean, are they at such a level that they would trigger some sort of emergency response? Do you see this as just kind of would this be kind of considered a normal day on the job, or how would you characterize the levels of power outages that we're seeing now?
Yeah, it doesn't feel very normal to me, Jim. So, it's been, there's a reasonably high number of outages, I would contest, and, some of it is perhaps a better question for PREPA, but in our view, it's not normal at all, and yes, it is going to take an extra additional effort to address those outages, and they need to be addressed right away. I think your first question was of the 2,200, how many are line workers? And a little over 350 are line workers.
Jose Alvarado?
Hello. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I wanted to follow up on the emergency response, how prepared LUMA is prepared to face the hurricane season. I know a few weeks ago you said that you're waiting for equipment to arrive on the island. Has this equipment arrived? What type of equipment would this be? And how many employees would be in charge of any emergency response? And how would that be compared to PREPA, what PREPA has now? I mean, do you feel that your emergency plan would be more robust than PREPA's now, or how would you measure that?
Yeah, so we've now had our third shipment of new fleet come to Puerto Rico, and we have additional shipments arriving over the next couple of months. So we have more than enough to get started. We've also begun to carry out, just in the last couple of days, roadworthiness inspections of PREPA's fleet, which is very important to us. We're, as I've mentioned time and time again, we do put our employees' safety first, and it's very important that the rolling stock or the fleet pass roadworthiness inspections and support our work. So we have the fleet, we have the tools.
What is this new equipment that's coming in?
Sorry?
The equipment, what type of equipment is coming in?
Like bucket trucks and associated equipment.
And how does that compare to what PREPA has now? I mean, would you have more equipment, more employees in these areas?
Now I understand. So just point of clarity. So we, on June the 1st, as we become responsible for the transmission distribution system, we also have access to, or we become responsible for, PREPA's existing fleet. So this is in addition to PREPA's existing fleet, and that's why I mentioned we're just gotten started, and we're going to be very busy in the next few days, making sure that the PREPA fleet roadworthiness is improved. But our shipment of new fleet is in addition to what we're taking over from PREPA, and I would suggest through the next year, there's much of PREPA's fleet that should be retired. It's at end of life or past end of life, and is no longer economic, never mind safe to be put into use. So I guess my point to your question is it's more. It's in addition to. I think you were inquiring about resources and emergency response resources, and we're creating an organization that that is all there for emergency response. So we've undergone significant FEMA training in the last few weeks. Our emergency response procedures have been built and are in alignment with FEMA's approach to an ICC model that many of you would be familiar with. We have an emergency operations center that is PREPA's today and will become LUMA's on Tuesday. We've been working, and many of you would have seen, through the press conference early in the week, but we've been working with PREMBI and other government agencies to make sure that we get connected, and our emergency response is connected and coordinated with the other agencies here in Puerto Rico. So there's a lot to be done on emergency response and emergency planning, but it's a very important part of what we will do.
You're requesting for a liability waiver, and you've said that that's done because you want to avoid frivolous lawsuits, extra costs that could increase customers' bill. However, I mean, what recourse would a PREPA customer, be it a business or residential customer, have if they have damages due to, let's say, voltage variations or anything that could damage their equipment under the LUMA management? What recourse would they have?
Yeah, I think you summarized it actually quite well. Is the point of the liability waiver is indeed to protect customers, and I think it's been misconstrued. It's a very standard approach that exists across the United States and the Caribbean, in fact. And the intent of the liability waiver is just that: is to protect customers or consumers from large amounts of frivolous litigation that in the end the customer, the rest of the customers end up paying for. So I think it's a very important element, and a very important element of moving forward, and it's especially important given the state of the system. As I've mentioned over, and as all of you know, it is extraordinarily fragile and in very, very poor condition. And all of us want to focus our time and attention on making it better and making improvements, rather than addressing just what you said, which is a bunch of frivolous.
But let's say LUMA is pledging to increase the performance metrics. You would have a much robust system. Wouldn't that be an incentive? Let's say if customers could have a recourse, why would you be worried that there would be frivolous lawsuits if the system would be more robust? Customers would be satisfied. Have you had these frivolous lawsuits in other jurisdictions under ADCO or Ponta?
No, we absolutely haven't, because other jurisdictions have similar sort of protections in place to protect customers. Puerto Rico is the one that's out of step without this customer protection, and that's all we're trying to put into place.
So what recourse would customers have?
Customers have the recourse that they have today under the PREP rules. But I can't tell you how standard this is in other jurisdictions, and I think it's very important that be put into place here in Puerto Rico.
What would be, in terms of the transition last 11 months that ends now on June 1st, what task did LUMA perform that in that transition period, because I know you're going to get a payment in excess, I don't know how much, in excess of 100 million. What tasks were done in that period?
Well, we hired more than 2,200 people, I guess, is one obvious thing.
But they don't begin working until June 1st. I mean,
indeed, that's true. I can assure you that the recruitment and the effort to move through recruitment and frankly to get an did is a substantial interest. There's no question in my mind that this is the largest startup ever here in Puerto Rico. So we've moved through the recruitment process. We've implemented IT systems in I would say best in class world record time. We will be basing our back office systems on a portion of PREPA's existing EBS system or financial system, but we implemented a completely brand new human capital management system, advanced pay systems, so a substantial amount of IT work. We spent, as you know, significant time with our colleagues at PREPA, and then we produced very, very substantial regulatory documents, system remediation plan, system operating principles, initial budgets, and performance indices, amongst a number of others. And they're in with the PREP, and we just spoke about those. We've stood up a brand new customer call center and technology in the customer call center, and trained those customer call center agents, and they're continue to be trained as they look forward to June the 1st.
So in terms of LUMA,
there has been I can assure you there has been a very significant amount of work done in the last 11 months.
So LUMA employees, how many will be distributed in customer service, and how many in T&D in other areas? Do you have that distribution?
We'll find out for you, Jose, and send it later today, because he doesn't have it handy right now.
Okay. And the bills, I don't know if my colleagues have noticed, but the last PREPA bills have, usually we get it at this time or a little earlier, but we haven't gotten those bills. Are there going to be changes in those bills? We're going to see LUMA, the next one with the LUMA brand. Why is it these bills a little tardy?
Yeah, sorry, I can't. I'm not aware why they're a bit slow this month. There will be a new revised LUMA bill. At this point, I don't think it will be until probably into August. It has to undergo regulatory approval. So the format of the bill is going to look the same for the next couple of months.
Okay, so it's going to be a PREPA bill, basically. PREPA.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it will evolve to LUMA pretty quickly.
Sara Marrero.
Hi, a couple questions. And my first question is, you had said that 1,200 employees from PREPA will be moving to LUMA. How many of those employees, if you know, are from the southern region, such as Ponce and Guayama? My second question is, I understand that LUMA does not have an obligation to promote the use of renewable energy, but will it make strides, to promote the use of renewable energy? And my third and final question is, for those who pay their bills in person, will they be able to go to the same offices? Will those employees still be there, to be able to process that payment in person? Thank you.
Yep, great. I'm afraid I don't have the distribution of employees that are joining LUMA, but I can tell you they are from all across Puerto Rico. So I think your second question or point was, and I actually disagree. I think we do have an obligation to support renewable energy under the existing legislation. I think we have an obligation to follow the IRP. And but aside from all of that, to your point, I think we also want to support renewable energy, and I would just say that again, some of our detractors have attempted to create misinformation by suggesting that we're somehow not in support of renewable energy, and couldn't be further from the truth. We all recognize the value of renewable energy, and especially here in Puerto Rico. So we're going to be working hard to make it easier for renewable energy. I think one of the most fundamental things that I would tell anyone is to have a renewable energy market. You also need a strong transmission and distribution system. And so, at the end of the day, we will be the enabler for a significant increase in renewables in the years to come. And then I think the last one was for people who enjoy paying their bills in person. Can they still do that? And the answer is absolutely yes. We're maintaining the same offices. They're being rebranded to some version of customer offices, and yes, in fact, in many cases, I think if you're accustomed to going into an office in your location, you will even see some of the very same people that you saw before, only now they'll be wearing LUMA shirts rather than PREPA shirts.
Thank you.
Oh.
Yvette Sosa.
Hi, everyone. My question about the employee numbers of LUMA was already asked, but we don't have the answer. I believe we're going to get those distribution about the employees. You have how many? You said already it was 350 linesmen, but we want to know how many will be attending customer service, how many will be doing other tasks. So maybe you can give us that answer later on. But are 350 linesmen enough for the hurricane season? How many others will come from other states, if you are even considering it? That's my first question.
Yeah, so we'll get you a bit of information on how many in customer service. I think that was the question. Mm-hmm. Are 350 enough? Yes, 350 are enough. There's been a lot of conversation about the quantity of employees, and I think what's really important to understand is this is also an exercise in having the right equipment and the right tools and the right training in order that the people that LUMA has can work efficiently and effectively. And I think that's the important part of the conversation. And that's we put safety first, we put people first, and it's very important that we're providing them with the tools and the equipment and the training so that they can be effective and be efficient. And so yes, we're confident that that is enough. However, we have additional contingency contracts in place, and in the event of significant storms, we have access to more people depending on the level of the storm and the level of the damage.
Okay, my second question will be, how will LUMA customer care centers operate? I mean, how can we say we don't have electricity, we have no service, we have any other problem with the bill, or any other problems that's taken care of in the customer service lines?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've done is we've substantially increased our own employees in our own customer care center. So I mentioned earlier we have a new a new premises. We brought people in now a few weeks ago to be able to give them training. We've implemented a new modern cloud-based call center platform. We still have, in the event that that we're for some reason unable to handle call volumes, we still have access to the outsourced call centers as backup. People can call us at 1-844-888-LUMA, and we will answer the phone. If you, starting on June the 1st, I should mention, if you call the existing PREPA telephone number starting on June the 1st over to LUMA, so you'll be redirected. You can visit our website, and you know, in an improved way that you would get the information from PREPA's website today, you can get the information from LUMA's website. You also will have access to a digital app for your phone that you can choose to download, and we're just in the first stages of that app. So, you know, the functionality on June the 1st will continue to grow over the following weeks and months, but we're very committed to creating multiple channels and multiple ways for customers to communicate with us, whether it's just what you said, whether it's questions around your bill, whether it's questions around your service, whether it's you'd like to connect or install a new service, whether you know, whether you want to report a street light, all of the reasons you might want to talk to us. We want to be able to do it in the way that best suits you, and of course, you know, as I mentioned earlier, should you wish, you can come into our customer centers and speak to people there too, if that's the way you'd like to do it. But we want to provide a wide variety of channels for people to speak to us.
Thank you very much. We'll be receiving the other information later on, right? About the employees, the number of employees, about the 22,000. How many are they landsman or customer service? You'll be providing that numbers later on, right?
That's correct. We'll provide.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. I have an additional question concerning what Eva brought up at the beginning in terms of the what's going to happen to the PREPA governing board. I know PREPA is going to continue owning the assets, but what role will the PREPA governing board have now? Will their decisions be binding on LUMA, or what will they do? What's going to be their task going forward?
I mean, I think that would be a question that you know, frankly, is best addressed by the governing board. I can't speak for them, and I don't want to speak for them. But what I will say is, you know, we look to have a continued and constructive relationship with the governing board. Our contract has some obligations between the owner of the assets, which is PREPA and LUMA, and some obligations between the administrator, which is the P3A, the Public-Private Partnership Authority, and LUMA. And you know, we're completely committed to working with both of those organizations in the way that it's set out in our contract. So yeah.
But they can no longer make decisions to change anything involving how LUMA operates the T&D and customer service like they do now with PREPA.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's, you know, that's right. The operation of the transmission and distribution system is now LUMA's responsibility, and LUMA has to live up to all of the obligations under the contract. We as LUMA have to, you know, have sufficient people and sufficient systems and sufficient resources in order to deliver the level of service that we promised we would. and we intend to do that.
So only PREP, the Energy Bureau, would have any, in terms of the, I mean, since they're the regulator, they would have more power in terms of governing the LUMA contract than the PREPA board would have, let's say.
Yeah, the PREP has a very significant governance role with LUMA. I guess the easiest way to think about it is they have the same governance role with LUMA as they practically, do with PREPA, because it's enacted in legislation. But they have a very significant oversight role for LUMA. The P3A, I would contest, as a very significant oversight role, and PREPA still does have some obligations, and we certainly have a significant amount of business activity between us. That's the one that I don't want to shy away from, is they are the generation operator. And it's very, very important that in order for us to provide electricity service to our customers, we need to be able to get generation from our colleagues at PREPA. So we intend to work very, very closely together with the PREPA executive management and also the PREPA board.
Yeah, but eventually the generation is also going to have a P3 that's also going to be sourced out. Mm-hmm. So basically you're going to have a PREPA board that is going to have not going to have a lot of power as it had before.
Sorry. We'll take one last question from Eva, who's raised her hand, and we'll wrap up. We're about at time.
Yes, sorry. I just wanted clarification. First of all, have you all completed the shared services agreement? And second of all, as you know, PREPA has there are some units in the generation aspect that are being repaired, and we're in the summer months. It's the peak demand. So I understand that there are only 400 megawatts of reserve at PREPA, which is like one unit in a power plant. So I'm just curious as to what implications will that have on your side, because you are in charge of distribution.
Yeah, so yes, the shared services agreement has been finalized in the last couple of days. I mean, we will support PREPA in any way we can to ensure that there's the maximum amount of generation available. At the end of the day, it is, again, I think that's a question better taken to PREPA in terms of the exact status of any generating stations that might be under maintenance.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll keep you abreast of when Mr. Stensby will be available on Tuesday for the press, and we will continue to keep you informed. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.